And I always hear people say, well, the alternative lifestyle is becoming the new normal. And even if it's becoming normalized and more popular, it's still forever and will always be the most inventive. And people will always and forever make fun of those weird people for not being normal.
Like, imagine thinking that the alt style is the new normal. You're out of your goddamn mind. Do you know how much shit people who like to dress with the alt style get on a regular basis in society, like actually going outside and touching grass? To think that the alt look is the new normal is such an online take to have. But when you get into the real world, you're not seeing as many people dressing this way, and you're certainly seeing a lot of people still getting shit on for doing so. And they're the ones that have to take the brunt of the abuse until it's finally popular for more people to do it. Doing your mom, doing your mom. This is Veridis Joe's Weird and Normal. Previously on this channel, we are big fans of Veridis Joe and Joe's content. It's very good. I'm a big fan. We've watched the Blackwashing Doesn't Exist one. That became a YouTube video on my channel as well. There'll be a card somewhere for you to watch that one too. We've also watched Cosplaying While Black, an open problem in the community, and NFTs are pretty dumb and stupid, but those ones didn't turn into YouTube videos. This is Weird and Normal, the most recent Veridis Joe video from 3 weeks ago. I'm not entirely too sure what exactly we're going to get into when it comes to this kind of a topic, but I'm curious to see what it is. I imagine it'll be a commentary on things that are described by people as being weird or being normal, and how these are kind of like nebulous concepts that don't necessarily hold a lot of utility in a lot of different contexts, especially in regards to media, which is what Joe likes to talk about a lot. But let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a big, dumb, stupid idiot. It's probably true, but who knows?
Over the past few months, I've been feeling kind of weird, kind of quirky. So why not make a video on being weird? Normal. Conforming to a standard, usually typical or expected. Going with the collective, the popular opinion. Rejecting the idea of being quirky and fitting in with these niggas.
Being a sheep. Imagine, I'm a lone wolf. I'm a Sigma, you know? I'm going my own way. I don't walk the path that others have charted. I make my own. Especially after my mom makes me tendies, and I tell her that they're too cold in the middle, and that I hate her.
Thing a lot of people now vehemently express themselves to be against, but put in practice, a lot of niggas fall flat on standing out because they miss one key detail. To be truly weird, you gotta have been truly weird. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll elaborate in the video right now. Hey beanbags, if any of you are from Wyoming, you're not, it's not a...
I love this setup, by the way. I know Nakey Jakey does this too. The green screen, and you're just kind of chilling there, either on a chair or on a yoga ball like Nakey Jakey, and then you have the B-roll footage in the background of whatever it is you're talking about. I find this to be really cool, and it is an inspiration for me for some video essay stuff I want to do in the future.
Today we're talking about being weird and being normal. I can give you the dictionary definition of being weird, but you already know. You're the outlier. You don't fit in with these niggas. You're not the blueprint. You don't stand out. At least it used to be that way.
Default, you know?
Now, there are a lot of things that are considered weird. Weird food, weird songs, weird shows, weird people. I'm a weird person. And I'm
also a weird person. I am gender non-conforming by definition. You know, being a non-binary trans person, I am weird. I am not the normal societal conception of how a person should be. Especially not somebody with a cock and balls like myself.
I've been one since birth. I was a weird kid in school. Growing up weird in school is not exactly the easiest thing. I wasn't getting shoved in lockers and shit. I wasn't getting swirlies, right? But I wasn't, the person that everybody wanted to talk to. People took advantage.
Same, dude. I feel like a lot of people in chat are going to be able to resonate with a lot of this, because if you're in a Twitch chat or if you're watching live streams all the time, there's no way you're normal, first and foremost. Second of all, you're probably got some sort of antisocial inclination that you use chat rooms to kind of cover for a little bit. It was the same for me. I was never exceptionally popular in school. When I was in early middle school, 5th and 6th grade, I was actually friends with and kind of social with some of the more popular kids of the time. But around 7th grade, I discovered rock, metal, alternative, post-hardcore, and all these meme-ass fucking guitar kind of music. And I ended up drifting more and more toward the metalhead look. I never really dressed that way because I just dressed in jeans and a t-shirt all the time, usually from American Eagle, because that's where my dad would take me to get clothes. And because of this, I did not fit in very well after that. I was against the grain from a young age, it would seem. And then at that point, all of the other friendships that I had made with more popular kids, maybe it could have just been my own antisocial proclivities or whatever. But at a certain point, those friendships kind of fell off. and I became more insular and alone. I also started being on the computer a lot more, and I became even more of a social hermit. It was an interesting time for me to be alive, a very formative time that has probably messed me up in a lot of ways. But anyway, I think I turned out okay. I wasn't bullied that much either, but I was kind of a social outcast, you know? I was only popular when I started smoking weed in high school and quickly learned those are not the people I want in my life. Yeah, I don't think smoking weed in high school is a good idea, except for maybe on very rare occasions. Your brain's still forming up there. You gotta be careful. I was the soccer team's token weird guy. Well, you were on a soccer team, so you were already weird, but I get what you mean.
And in case y'all ain't know, you get made fun of for being weird.
Having a weird little haircut, not wearing the right shoes, the right pants, not saying the right words, not listening to the right music.
Not watching the right shows. They were watching Mid-Power. I was watching Power Rangers. Fortunately for me, I stayed.
But the difference between weird me now and weird me in like elementary and middle school was my lack of social awareness. Like I tried to express
that, and I think also confidence. So when you're young, confidence is like either you've built it up or you're just kind of born with it, or you don't have a lot of it and you suffer like negative social ramifications as a result. Because like confidence is usually seen as like a characteristic that people admire. So like if you're gonna be weird, not only is like a lack of social awareness going to be an issue like Joe's about to describe, but also being confidently weird or confident in your weirdness, I think it does a lot to, even if people aren't super interested in your weirdness, I think they're more willing to tolerate it because it's like, oh, at least the dude's owning it, right? Like at least they know they're weird and that's the point and they're very confident about it, and you know they're still able to interface with us not weird kids. But it, like I say, it's hard to be a weird kid and then also have that confidence. It seems like you grow into your weirdness over time because you gain that confidence, probably just because you stop giving a shit, whereas when you're in school you care a lot more about what other people think. It's not even really being weird. You're someone with hobbies and interests. Everyone is kind of a weirdo. Well, it depends on how weird you are. There are levels to this shit. But it is true that, especially with the internet nowadays and the super niche interests that people have access to, where previously they might not before the internet, literally everybody's got some weird shit going on at this point. Like, I haven't been in school for a long time. I'm 26. I'm basically dead. But I imagine there are people who are less seen as being the weird kid because of that. But I could be wrong. That would just be a guess that I have, because like everybody is weird in their own way, unless like you're literally cookie cutter preppy kid with rich parents or whatever. It's just what flavor of weird are you and how weird is it?
When you're a kid growing up, obviously you start school, and school is very important for a lot of things. Obviously education, but also social skills. And social skills are very essential. Let's not pretend that they aren't. If you think you can get through this lifetime without socializing just a little bit, you're wrong. Now starting off,
Ted Kaczynski would say otherwise.
School with social skills, either you got them or you don't, and you gotta get them. And if you don't got them, you get made fun of for not having them. It's not like I said, I was watching Power Rangers and they were watching adult shit because kids always want to be adult. But you see me, I was worried about being a kid. A cool kid who punched shit until it exploded and had explosions in the back of them, you know, because
like how is that not cool? How is that considered weird? I don't understand. It's so odd. Kids are dumb, essentially.
I remember when I was like 12 in middle school, kids were making fun of me for not knowing what the word virgin meant. When I was like 12 in middle school, worried about, you know, being a kid. And kids will make fun of you for not being normal.
I'm very lucky in that my brain has been busted for a long time. And like I intentionally tried to make myself not care. Like I made a deliberate attempt to make it so that no negative emotion could possibly affect me. And of course that was all cope. Of course they absolutely did, just in ways that I wasn't able to recognize. But at least in the meanwhile, that coping mechanism for being considered weird or out of the realm of, you know, the normal, it was actually kind of helpful. Because like, I don't know that it even like directly affected me too much. It probably has long lasting issues. And it certainly hurt me in regards to like interpersonal relationships and trying to like relate to other people. But at least we had that.
Normal is just so cool. And, you know, conformity is awesome. And you're supposed to fit in with the crowd. Or else you're just a weirdo that everyone's gonna point and laugh at because you're weird, and being weird is terrible. And it's funny because now you got so many pretty privileged ass, obviously popular in school ass people that want to be weird and quirky online, and you can tell that they force it, but they just don't understand. You can usually tell when niggas been cool and pretty and they knew it, or when niggas got cool and pretty and they knew it. See me, I'm hot, but oh boy, in school was I not desired at all by anybody.
So in this way, this is kind of like the SNL pipeline meme I made last night in response to SNL's Elmo and Rocco meme. Life cycle of a meme. So essentially we start with like media consumed by the weird kids, then it moves on to like the slightly less weird kids, and then the normal kids, and then the super normal kids, and then the super privileged normal kids over here, and then eventually the dog shit that comes out, instead of SNL, It's this shit where it'll be these people trying to be weird and quirky, but it's an act, it's cosplay, it's a facade. And that's essentially what SNL does to comedy. It's interesting, you know, cells within cells interlinked. Time is a flat circle.
You want some Joey lore? Here's a picture of me in 5th grade being the master of ceremony, cutting the ribbon for my school's ribbon cutting ceremony. Yes, I cut the ribbon with these comically large scissors in this oversized ass suit. I still think I look pretty cool.
Yeah, I was pretty goofy looking, but there was a gradual shift to a point to where people started treating me better than they did before. And that was just because over time I got quote unquote prettier. I started experiencing what I do now, which is called pretty privilege. Pretty privilege doesn't exactly have a dictionary definition because it's relatively a new term, but just know it's people getting treated better based on societal beauty standards and how they fit them. A lot of people—
I've been growing into that too nowadays. Back in the day, I was never having a problem like finding romantic interests when I was in like high school and shit. But luckily for me, for whatever reason, people found an interest in me. But I understand that I'm like genetically, I have some things going for me because of my mom and dad and what they've given me. So like my dad is Latino, I have his hair, I have his lips. I'm white, but I have a very mild olive tone, especially during the summer, which is kind of cool to some people. And myself, if I go out in the sun at least. But like back in the day, I was fucking wretched. I did not know what I was doing with my aesthetics back then. I did not care about fashion. Now I've grown into that more. It's interesting how that works. I'm 25 now, and I think I look the best that I ever have, but I could easily have looked this good when I was like 17, 18. I just wasn't aware of what things aesthetically worked really well for me. Like my hairstyle was never very good for my face shape and my head shape. I wasn't aware that I liked wearing a lot of feminine clothing. So I was just wearing, you know, either really boring bullshit or vaguely feminine stuff like skinny jeans. Nowadays, I've very much grown into who I am as a person. And it's a bit of a shame that I haven't learned all this stuff earlier on because I may not have been seen as such a weird kid, at least not in some ways. Had I done that, I could have looked a lot better, had more of a sense of style, knowing what I know now, knowing what works for me, but it is what it is.
People are aware of pretty privilege and a lot of people aren't aware, but most of the time the people who aren't aware are people who benefit from pretty privilege themselves. And I mean like always have. It's obviously going to be a harder concept to wrap your head around when you've been experiencing this like your whole life and other people haven't, and you think people just like you because they like you, but no, they like you because you're good looking and they like how you look.
I didn't get none of that in school. I got made fun of for being weird looking and acting. But it's funny how even in minute capacity, those same people who made fun of people like me and probably like you for being different are trying to be different themselves now. They want to
I think the big reason for this, and I've talked about this before, I don't know if it was in a YouTube video or not, back in the day, pre-internet, pre-social media, you would only compare yourself against the people in your immediate vicinity, in your home, in your immediate and extended families, your school, your church, or whatever other community events you do, and sometimes a bit further than that for like work and other things like that. You're comparing yourself to all those people, and you're being compared against all those people by other people. So it's in that way, it is a smaller market, meaning that being unique, being seen as weird, being seen as the other is a lot easier for other people to figure out because it's such a smaller concentration of people. However, in this day and age, now that the internet is a thing, now that social media is a thing that a lot of people use, you compare yourself against literally the entire world. And you get compared against literally the entire world by other people. And because of that, the market is now oversaturated. It is way, way, way too dense. So it has become harder and harder to be seen as unique or weird or to stand out in whatever way you're trying to stand out. And as a result, there are people who will be like your typical normal person who will enjoy the privilege of that their entire lives, will now start trying to be weird and quirky and whatever else. And it could just be cosplay, like it could be an act. But they'll do that in an attempt to become more unique from people looking at them because of the oversaturation of the market. There's a whole lot of crazy shit going on nowadays because of that oversaturation that I don't think existed before then, simply because people had more of a closed off view of the world before the internet. I think that's one of the major driving factors for this.
Stand out from the crowd and not be like everybody else, but also still simultaneously make fun of people who subscribe to alternative ways of expressing themselves, especially like alt people and, you know, just nobody who is mainstream and has that Old Navy ass fit on. Goth and all.
And this shit is actually in vogue now. I've been wearing not exactly this, but similar things. Like, you know me, you see my shit on the timeline. We've got this fit with these carved up tights, but this is still a pretty chill outfit. We've got this fit, which is the same tights and nobody cares. We've got stuff like this, which is a bit more leaning into like the new goth or the alt look. It's not goth. I have a certain aesthetic that I like to stick to. We've got things like this. So like this is like an alt-ish look. This is not goth. I don't know if they call it new goth or what. But anyway, I say all this to say that this is in vogue now. Like being the alt or goth e-girl, that's the popular style now. That's what a lot of people are trying to do. And you'll have posers or whatever. I don't care. People can wear what they wear. I don't give a fuck. But like there will be people who will like wear this because that's popular, not because they like the style. Like that's a thing that's happening now, which is interesting. Whereas in the past, goth people, especially in media, like goth girls are the main goths that are usually shown in media, popular media. And they're usually shown as being like aggressive and mean and rude and all this kind of stuff and not desirable by like the general public. And nowadays it's just the style, you know, in some small part. But I'm pretty sure that the goths of the world, like the true orthodox ones, are probably not the most excited about this kind of like new flavor of goth aesthetic being popular, which I can understand. But anyway.
People make fun of alt niggas and just anybody who dress, looks, or acts differently. Yet they also want to identify as being different. They want to be different, but to an extent. They still want to follow trends, but they also want to pretend like they aren't following trends. They want to be a trendsetter, but they aren't setting any trends. They're just following in the footsteps of people before them. I don't know.
And nobody is ever setting any trends, by the way. It's incredibly rare that you're actually that trendsetter, especially in fashion. A lot of this fashion trend shit, usually like it seems to come out of like super wealthy fashion designers that ordain that this is the style and we'll have this super high fashion version and then we'll have the consumer version and that's just what the style is. It is incredibly rare that you'll have a person that pioneers a style on their own, and it's incredibly cool when that happens. It's a very, very neat thing because of how rare it is. But nobody is setting trends like this. It's not happening, especially not on fucking social media.
And I always hear people say, well, the alternative lifestyle is becoming the new normal. And even if it's becoming normalized and more popular, it's still forever and will always be the most inventive. And people will always and forever make fun of those weird people for not being normal.
Like imagine thinking that the alt style is the new normal. You're out of your goddamn mind. Do you know how much shit people who like to dress with the alt style get on a regular basis in society, like actually going outside and touching grass? To think that the alt look is the new normal is such an online take to have. But when you get into the real world, you're not seeing as many people dressing this way, and you're certainly seeing a lot of people still getting shit on for doing so. And they're the ones that have to take the brunt of the abuse until it's finally popular for more people to do it.
Now, it's funny that when they talk about alt being popular, they're most likely actually talking about the fake alt niggas that popularized the shit. And they did that because they like the clothes and...
I am also... So I was a metalhead back in the day. I could have been dressing like I am right now if I knew, but I didn't know. Because I didn't care about fashion at the time. And I didn't really care about my personal appearance at the time at all. So like I am somewhat guilty of this, and then I got into it late, but I don't actually think I'm like jumping on the trend. It just seems to be that this was a logical endpoint or like a logical step on the process of me developing my fashion sense. So luckily, I don't think I'm fully guilty of it.
The style, while also being conservatives to some degree. Newsflash, for some of you can't be alt and goth and also be conservative. Those two things don't go together. Last year, they were all BLM and ACAB and shit with the cute little monster can guns and bunny hats and fishnets, knowing damn well it was a phase, and now they're back to Lifetime original. I've seen one TikTok where like a wannabe girl made fun of girls who were quote unquote basic, and niggas stitched the video with a picture of her from like 5 months ago wearing the exact same shit.
This is funny, and I guess that's a good way to figure it out, right? Like if a person is constantly dressing a certain way, then that's just their aesthetic. However, if you do notice that they go through like very visible phases, and there's nothing wrong with going through phases with certain aesthetic. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you notice that there are people like talking about like, oh, I'm the original, you know, I've been doing this for so long, all these other people are posers, and then this is you actually, and you just did it for the trend. Like, that's the difference. I'm always dressing this way. That's the difference.
I know that was a bit of a tangent, but the point is there will always be weird people and other people who inorganically want to replicate the weirdness without fully committing to being weird. Like,
true, and that's the coward's move, by the way. The reason why people do this is essentially they let the true weird people that pioneer these fashion trends, so for this case, goth people, back before it was in vogue as a trend, those people have to put up with all kinds of shit from society, from their friends, from their school, from their place of work, from just any place they go in public. If that's their aesthetic, if that's how they're dressing all the time, those people have to deal with the abuse because they are considered weird. And that's how they've been, especially before the trends. So people like this that Joe is describing, you're literally waiting for the marginalized people in society to take all this abuse until eventually society comes around and it's more normalized and now it's in vogue and now it's the trend. And then you jump on it because you're a coward, because you do not have what it takes to be that kind of trendsetter, to go against the grain before it's comfortable. That's coward shit. That's pussy shit.
But it's crazy how being a child, seeing people make fun of me for being different, Willis also worshiping people who make careers out of being different because it was cool because they were famous. And I know that weird is cool. Weird is cool as fuck. I remember the first time when I realized that weird was cool. I was in 8th grade, and around this time, I was really trying to let the weird die. I was trying to fit in, or at least do what people wanted me to do. I tried to fit in, and I got to a point where I'd call myself trying to tell my friends off for being weird and quirky and having fun, while I was the only one just not enjoying myself, worrying about what other people were thinking. But one day, a friend of mine told me how she loved Gumball. You know, Amazing One of Gumball, the show. And talking about how weird they were. Not as friends, she was one of the popular kids. And around this time, I was pretty good at clicking with everybody. I wasn't popular per se. I still was the quirky, weird kid. But I had the effect where I was able to just vibe with everybody on the same type of level. But she told me she was fucking with the show. And I said in my head, damn, that's me for real. Why can't other niggas understand this? Because at the time, I'd still be pushed aside for being the quirky, weird kid. The only difference between grade school was this time I had some social skills. Yet, like I said, they were fucking with weird people if they were like celebrities, or they made money off of being weird, or, you know, they weren't like the people standing right in front of you and like not
oh shit, that's what I was gonna say. Celebrities get the privilege of being weird. That's what's interesting. So Joe was talking about it briefly, where like these people will idolize celebrities because they are weird, because they are unique, they stand out in society. And like, it's not the same for a normal person. That's because they have celebrity privilege. That's because they're popular. That's because people will like what they do almost no matter what. And that's just the take. And it's not to say that people that are like that aren't gonna get shit for it, because they certainly will in their day-to-day life. It's just not as bad because they get the pass for being celebrities. So it's interesting that people will condemn other like average Joes for being weird and then idolize celebrities for being weird, when the only reason those celebrities can get away with being weird is the fact that they have that celebrity privilege, and probably the pretty privilege that Joe was talking about earlier as well. Interesting stuff.
People like me because I was weird and not because I was normal. In this lifetime, niggas are so focused on not being seen as weird, but I fucking love being weird. I really like confusing niggas and not making sense. Why would you go through your life the whole time trying to get approval from others who don't even live it? Others who you may not even ever see again. This video isn't or wasn't meant to be grandiose. I just want you to realize that there's nothing wrong with not being normal. I see people—
True! And I really vibe with the, what did he say here?
I fucking love being weird. I really like confusing niggas and not making sense.
Yeah, I love confusing people too, dude. That's essentially my entire MO when it comes to my aesthetic. There are so many people, because I am gender ambiguous, because my gender identity is an amoebic blob, there are so many people that will just see me post on Twitter. They'll just see posts like this on Twitter, and like they'll finally give my Twitch stream or my YouTube videos a shot, and they're like, holy fuck, I didn't expect your voice to be so deep. I thought you were just an AFAB person. I thought you were a woman this whole time, and stuff like that. I very much enjoy confusing people and their ideas around gender identity and how people are expected to look, and also confusing people and their sexuality, especially heterosexual men, because that's just really funny to me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
But you go through your life the whole time trying to get approval from others who don't even live it. Others who you may not even ever see again. This video isn't or wasn't meant to be grandiose. I just want you to realize that there's nothing wrong with not being normal. I see people in the TikTok comment sections on Twitter priding themselves on being normal. All my pronouns are normal. All right, well, you're boring, nigga. Shut up. You ain't shit if you pride yourself on being normal, but you're some cool ass shit if you pride yourself on being weird. That's it. That's all. That's all I wanted to say.
What a jammer. Another absolute classic video from Veridis Joe. If you haven't already, go subscribe, you fools. Here's the link to the video. Joe doesn't need my shout out, okay? He's got 178K. We just got to 13K today. But listen, if you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, you won't know. That's been Veridis Joe. I hope you enjoyed my tale in addition to his on how I've always been the weird kid. I'm sure I could have gone over a lot of other stuff and I might have missed out on a lot of other things that I might have wanted to bring up, but I could always make another video about it in the future. So I'm very happy that Joe made this video because it allowed me to do that, at least in part. This video's CONURE CALLOUT as Owaboos. Congratulations, I think this is the second time you've won, maybe? Keep up the excellent work. If you'd like to be the next CONURE CALLOUT, all you gotta do is follow me on Twitter, @CONURECC, retweet my video links when they go live. Remember to subscribe to the channel, put all notifications on when you hit the bell, leave a like if you'd like, comment something about how fucking weird you are or whatever in the comment section down below, and have a day or something, I don't know, whatever.